Memang ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Di sini saya akan mempresentasikan tentang etik. What is ethics? What use is ethics? Where does ethics are different to legislation? What is ethics? At its simplest, ethics is a system of moral principles that affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society and is also described as moral philosophy. The term is derived from the Greek word ethos, which can mean custom, habit, character, or disposition. Ethics covers the following dilemmas: how to live a good life, our rights and responsibilities, the language of right and wrong, moral decisions, what is good and bad. Our concept of ethics have been derived from religions, philosophies, and cultures. They infuse debates on topics like abortion, human rights, and professional conduct. Approach to ethics. Philosophers nowadays tend to divide ethical theories into three areas: metaphysics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Metaethics deals with the nature of moral judgment. It looks at the origins and meaning of ethical principles. Normative ethics is concerned with the content of moral judgment and the criteria for what is right or wrong. Applied ethics looks at controversial topics like war, animal rights, and capital punishment. And the next, what use is ethics? If ethical theories are to be useful in practice, they need to affect the way human beings behave. Some philosophers think that ethics does to do this. They argue that if a person realizes that it would be morally good to do something, then it would be irrational for that person not to do it. But human beings often behave irrationally. They follow their gut instinct even when their head suggests a different course of action. However, ethics does provide good tools for thinking about moral issues. Ethics can provide a moral map. Most moral issues get used pretty worked up. Think of abortion and euthanasia for starters, because these are such emotional issues. We often let our hearts do the arguing while our brains just go with the flow. But there's another way of tackling these issues, and that where philosophers can come in. They often use ethical rules and principles that enable us to take a cooler view of moral problems. So ethics provides us with a moral map, a framework that we can use to find our way through difficult issues. Ethics can pinpoint a disagreement. Using the framework of ethics, two people who are arguing moral issues can often find that what they disagree about is just one particular part of the issue, and that they broadly agree on everything else. That can take a lot of head out of the argument and sometimes even hint at a way for them to resolve their problem. But sometimes ethics doesn't provide people with the sort of help that they really want. Ethics doesn't give right answer. Ethics doesn't always show the right answer to moral problems. Indeed, more and more people think that for many ethical issues, there isn't a single right answer, just a set of principles that can be applied to particular cases to give those involved some clear choice. Some philosophers go further and say that all ethics can do is eliminate confusion and clarify the issues. After that, it's up to each individual to come their own conclusions. Ethics can give several answers. Many people want there to be a single right answer to ethical question. They find moral ambiguity hard to live with because they generally want to do the right thing, and even if they can work out what that right this thing is, they like the idea that somewhere there is one right answer. But often there isn't one right answer. There may be several right answers or just some least worse answer, and the individual must choose between them. For other, moral ambiguity is difficult because it forces them to take responsibility for their own choice and actions rather than falling back on convenient rules and customs. And next, ethics and people. Ethics is concerned with other people. At the heart of ethics is a concern about something or someone other than ourselves and our own desires and self-interest. Ethics is concerned with other people's interests, with the interests of society, with God interests, with ultimate goods, and so on. So when a person thinks ethically, they are giving at least some to something beyond themselves. Next, are ethical statements objectively true? Do ethical statements provide information about anything other than human opinions and attitudes? Ethical realists think that human beings discover ethical truths that already have an independent existence. Ethical non-realists think that human beings invent ethical truths. The problem for ethical realists is that people follow many different ethical codes and moral beliefs. So if there are real ethics, truth out there, wherever, then human beings don't seem to be very good discovering them. One form of ethical realism teaches that ethical properties exist independently of human beings, and that ethical statements give knowledge about the objective world. To put it another way, the ethical properties of the world and the things in it exist and remain the same, regardless of what people think or feel, or whether people think or feel about them at all. On the face of it ethical realism means the view that moral qualities such as wrongness and likewise moral facts such as the fact that an act was wrong exist in rerum natura, so that if one says that a certain as was wrong on is saying that there exists somehow somewhere this quality of wrongness, and that I had to exist there if that act were to be wrong. And the next, where does ethics come from? Philosophers have several answers to this question. God and religion, human conscience and intuition, rational moral cost-benefit analysis of action and their effects, the example of good human beings, a desire for the best for people in each unique situation, political power, good best ethics, supernaturalism. Supernaturalism makes ethics inseparable from religion. It teaches that the only source of moral rules is God. So something is good because God say it is, and the way to lead a good life is to do what good God wants. Intuitionism Intuitionism thinks that good and bad are real objective properties that can be broken down into component parts. Something is good because it's good, its goodness doesn't need justifying or proving. Intuitionists think that goodness or badness can be detected by adults. They say that human beings have an intuitive moral sense that enables them to dictate real moral truths. They think that basic moral truths of what is good and bad are self-evident to a person who directs their mind towards moral issues. So good things are the things that a sensible person realizes are good if they spend some time pondering the subject. Don't get confused, more the intuitionist. Moral truths are not discovered by rational argument. Moral truths are not discovered by having a hunch. Moral truths are not discovered by having a feeling. It's more a sort of moral moment, a realization of the truth. Consequentialism. This is the ethical theory that most unreligious people think they use every day. It bases morality on the consequence of human action and not on the action themselves. Consequentialism teaches that people should do whatever produces the greatest amount of good consequences. One famous way of putting this is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The most common forms of consequentialism are the various variations of utilitarianism, which favor action that produces the greatest amount of happiness. Despite its obvious common sense appeal, consequentialism turned out to be a complicated theory and doesn't provide a complete solution to all ethical problems. Two problems with consequentialism are it can lead to the consolation that some quite dreadful acts are good. Predicting and evaluating the consequence of action is often very difficult. Non-consequentialism or deontological ethics. Deontological ethics. Non-consequentialism is concerned with the action themselves and not with the consequence. It's the theory that people are using when they refer to the principle of the thing. It teaches that some acts are right or wrong in themselves, whatever the consequence, and the people should accordingly. Virtue ethics look virtue or moral character rather than ethical duties and rules or the consequence of action. Indeed, some philosophers of this school deny that there can be such thing as universal ethical rules. Virtue ethics is particularly concerned with the way individuals live their lives and less concerned in assessing particular action. It develops the idea of good action by looking at the way virtuous people express their inner goodness in the things that they do. To put it very simply, virtue ethics teach that an action is right if and only if it is an action that a virtuous person would do in the same circumstances, and that a virtuous person is someone who has a particularly good character. And for the last one, where does ethics come from? Situation ethics. Situation ethics rejects prescriptive rules and argues that individual ethical decisions should be made according to the unique situation. Rather than following rules, the decision maker should follow a desire to seek the best for the people involved. There are no moral rules or rights. Each case is unique and deserves a unique solution. Ethics and ideology. Some philosophers teach that ethics is the codification of political ideology and that the function of ethics is to state, enforce, and preserve particular political beliefs. They usually go on to say that ethics is used by the dominant political elite as a tool to control everyone else. More cynical writers suggest that power elites enforce an ethical code on other people that helps them control those people, but do not apply this code to their own behavior. Thank you.